We take you now to our podcast from October 2019.
Well, Tomato, thank you so much again, and I'm serious, we have to do this again sometime. Maybe we'll just do an episode on just, the Diamond. Just really, really get into it. You know what I mean?
Weencast, a Ween podcast with Shane and Rory.
That's right, we are back with Tomato to discuss the second full-length Sound of Urchin album, originally released in 2003, The Diamond. And for an amazing reason, this album is being pressed on vinyl for the first time ever. But you know that Tomato always goes big. This record has been completely remastered, and the original 11 tracks will be joined by an uncovered Lost track, all on 180-gram diamond clear vinyl. Also included is a digital download card with the remastered tracks, but also 10 unearthed gems, bonus tracks of 4-track recordings, and demo tracks personally selected by Tomato himself. Tomato is also releasing a limited deluxe edition, which includes a bonus CD of the band's only live performance of the album in its entirety, Omaha, Nebraska 2005. These CDs will include unique hand-drawn artwork by Tomato on the CD jacket. Go to soundofurchin.com to pre-order by October 21st and save $10 on either version. Also, check us out on Patreon for our full conversation with Tomato, including some more stories about the late producer of The Diamond, Adam Schlesinger from Fountains of Wayne. So let's go now to our conversation where we discuss the history of the band at the time of this recording, how it became a reality, and the amazing project that brought this new vinyl to life. Thank you again, Tomato, for your time. Enjoy.
Okay, so we are on the phone with Chris Tomato 11. Parfinist. Thank you so much for joining us again, Chris.
Oh, you got it. 2025.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's
That's been my mantra all year, dude. Whenever I do anything like well this year, I'm just like 2025, man. I'm not gonna let it kick my ass.
Unbelievable.
And we're still here.
Yep, that's what I mean. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so great to spend some time with you again, Chris.
Yeah, on a good occasion too.
And you know what's really funny? I mentioned this to Rory in our original interview that we did with you. Towards the end, I said something to the effect of like, "Hey, look, we'll do this again sometime, and we'll really like dig deep, like maybe just do something on just the Diamond."
Right.
I swear to God, I said that. I swear I said that.
Yeah, that's awesome, right? And then, we did that one which was amazing for the box set, the 2020 box set. So that was really fun as well. But yeah, right, a Diamond focus. now we have a reason.
And now we have a great reason to do it, man. That's cool. Take us back if you could, and we'll kind of talk about like the history of the record and like where the band was at the time, if that's okay. So if we look at the timeline, You Were the Best, which was the first full length release, was released in 2002.
Yep.
And then the original version of The Diamond actually came out the next year. Is that right? 2003?
Yeah, I don't know if it was 2003 or 2004. It might have been 2003. I mean, I can tell you sort of the timeline, which is pretty wild because me and Bill were talking the other day and like just reminiscing about everything,
Mm-hmm.
and just how how crazy and fast life was moving back then, which was just what was happening for us back then. Like, we were so productive. We essentially were always recording. We were always touring. I was always writing. We were always rehearsing. We had such a regimen down where we were just living the life. We were on call to go out on the road with anyone who wanted us to go on the road with them and do shows. And basically had the van full of all of our gear and we're just ready to go. But also, in between all of the touring, because we were constantly doing that, which was amazing because we got so good at playing together. Like, we became a real, I'm going to jump around a bit, but that's why the Diamond, to me, is so special, because I feel like we really became a band just because what happens, you start to morph into a real band after being on the road for a while and and recording and writing and doing all these things that you don't even have time to. It's not like you write out like a mission statement, or we're going to do this, or we're going to make this, and we're going to do that. It's just like it all starts to happen and it starts to form, and we really became like like pro level unit, which I don't know if these days you can even become a pro level unit unless because back then the way that you did it was by getting in the van and driving all over the place. So maybe you can do it these days, but the mixture with the mixture of the industry helping out and being there and coaching us, and then we had a big team of people that were just behind us all the way. So yeah, I'm flipping around here, but essentially finished You Are the Best and went right into the Diamond after that. That was released 2002. So 2003. I was just demoing away, and we were rehearsing and practicing. And when you get the 20th anniversary of the Diamond, you'll see on the bonus tracks, which we're calling Unearthed Gems. There's 10 of them, and there's some are from. Oh, hello. Are you guys there?
Yeah, we're
here. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just opened up my phone because I need to look at the track listing here, so I thought I disconnected you guys.
No, we're still here.
So there's demos of Police Helicopters, People in the Clouds, White Dove, Last December, Howling at the Moon. They're all from that 2002 to 2003 period. But then there's like Sometimes, which was from 1994, The Door, which was from 1995, like a couple other ones there, one from 2000. So it's like some of these songs were deep in my catalog even. So that ended up on the Diamond, which was really cool.
So this was the original album. So Police Helicopters Over Brooklyn, The Jack-O-Lantern, There Are People in the Clouds, Bomb Me, Dracula Bite, White Dove, Blown Away, Howling at the Moon, Sometimes, The Door, Last December.
Yeah.
And then on the original limited edition, which we'll get to that in a second, it's listed that the bonus tracks are Rock and Roll Forever and then I Left.
Right. Yep. Right.
So that was the original CD that was released, which it just says The Sound of Urchin, The Diamond, and then limited edition. And I've been wanting to ask you about this for a long time. How did you guys get this pressed? And the initial run of them, was there like an error?
Yes. Oh, yeah, totally. You just reminded me of that after forgetting about it. But so check this out. This was like and this is a testament to the team around us, the management and the record label. We were on RCA. We recorded the Diamond for RCA.
That was going to be one of my next questions. Was like, were you planning on like having this released on RCA Records as well?
We had a whole plan. This is the wild part of the music industry back then. We had a whole plan, organized by our guy at RCA, who was amazing. Steve Robofsky, who I probably talked about before to you guys. He was our A&R guy, and he basically, the whole plan for him was to do 2 EPs, do a full length, which became You Are the Best, and have that be sort of just like, on the cheap, even though it was still like expensive for the way that we would record. We were away for 2 months in Chicago recording it with Keith Cleversley, Flaming Lips producer. So it was, I guess that was on the cheap, and then for a major label. And then the radio album was where they put all their money into. So that was going to be the Diamond. And that's where we, sort of, RCA was really going to take what we have built over those other tours and other albums, You Are the Best, and the EPs, and all the opening slots, and all the the various worlds that we were in, and everything else. So this is where they were going to do the radio push. While we were recording the Diamond, we were in the studio, and remember, this is RCA, so we went with Adam Schlesinger from Fountains of Wayne, who we didn't really even know, or we weren't necessarily even aware of the Fountains of Wayne as a band that we listened to or anything like that. We had met with Paul Leary from the Butthole Surfers. We had met with Jack Douglas, who produced all the Aerosmith records. Nice. And John Lennon and Cheap Trick. And we were going to go with Paul Leary because he did the Sublime record and the what do they call? What's that band called? Shit. I forget. I'll remember later. What was their name? But they had hits, so they were like, okay, this is like he had hits, even though he was a Butthole Surfer, So, but he was in Texas, and they RCA wanted to stick around here, and they wanted to make a radio album. So we met with Adam Schlesinger, who owned the studio, along with James Iha from Smashing Pumpkins, and we met with him. And he's like, Adam Schlesinger's like Grammy guy. He produces albums. He had hits with Fountains of Wayne, but he also is a real radio guy. So it was genius of our record label to introduce us to him, because even though we weren't necessarily like fans of his band, it was probably better that, and it's not that we weren't fans of his band, we just weren't familiar with them, wasn't on our radar. But he was so cool and so methodical, and owned a studio, and he basically, which was the genius part. My songs, when I write them, I don't have a radio idea in my head, so my songs could be 4 minutes long, and like there's no choruses, or there's no there's weird arrangements where like it takes 2 minutes until there is a chorus. And he basically tightened up our songs like a producer would, like a George Martin from the Beatles or something like that, and he also knew how to really polish up the band and polish up the sound, so we could get that kind of, which we wanted, was that it's a real anthem kind of feel, which is really like at the heart of Urchin, even though it's not really how we weren't mostly represented early on as an anthem rock band, but whenever you saw us, it was pretty anthemic. So this was kind of like, here's everything rolled into one, everything that we want rolled into one, So he was able to really, truly bring that out, and also corral me into understanding like how to form a song that maybe somebody else, like a producer, is there to like tell you that it is to like almost like a therapist. Like, this is, you need to translate this song to people so they can hear it and hear this part and hear that part and hear this guitar or that. And he made the stuff that I don't even think about. I don't have dynamics, meaning like I write a song that's like one level, balls out the whole way through, which is fine. but like, he gave us dynamics. So we pull out some aspects out of the song.
What was that like for you? Like the process of having to be corralled. I imagine, like, if you think back then, I mean, now we're like looking back and it's kind of like, oh yeah, everything's awesome. What was that like for you back then to be like, now I have to have this person is helping to control and influence what you're doing?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's a great question because, like, truthfully, I got into it a lot with Adam Schlesinger, and because I was just like, even, okay. So the fun thing too is on the 20th anniversary, you'll hear the demos of these songs that like don't have the same exact like format or sound the same as they ended up. And like Bomb Me in particular didn't have the bomb me part. Bomb me, And I'm like, that's so cheesy. I can remember this right now. Like, why are we going to say bomb me? And he's like, because people will sing it with you. The song doesn't have a chorus, And and I'm like, but I'm a big fan, like I'm a big fan of choruses. I'm a big fan of like Metallica's Black Album. So it's not, I have the indie sensibility. Don't touch my shit. I'm an indie, I'm a indie rocker kind of deal. But ultimately, I learned to trust him and listen to him. And then I saw when we released the album how much the people responded to the way that it translated to them, and how some of the songs, some songs I write don't translate and could be translated better. So yeah, that's my answer to that. He was the mastermind behind this, with us. And even though we butted heads, or I butted heads with him, like, sometimes I won or the argument. Sometimes it didn't. It was very on the level. It was never, it was never like a bad relationship at all. It was just a matter of like, he'd hear me out, I'd hear him out, and I go, okay, let's try this. And it really, when I saw the response from people from the Diamond, I'm like, wow, man, thank God that he did it. Because Paul Leary would have just let us do it the way we did it, and maybe it wouldn't have had that the immediacy and the fire, or it would have a different fire. This was like, we wanted a big, like, I keep using the word Cheap Trick, but we wanted a big anthemic Cheap Trick type 70s rock album that we always wanted to make with our crazy weird stuff, all mixed into it all, Yeah.
So did you have like did you have like a conversation with him as far as like, will you do this with us? Or was it kind of like more of like, hey, the record company says this guy's okay, and like, how did you get him on board with you in the first place?
Oh, well, it's funny. The record company, you give the record company a list, they have a list of people, and then you go and you meet with them. We spent the whole weekend with Paul Leary from Butthole Surfers. They flew him in. He hung out with us. We went out to dinner. He listened to the demos. He went to our rehearsals, and it was old school. Like, it was like just how it used to be done, which I'm so thankful I got a taste of it. And for Adam Schlesinger, it was the same thing. We went over to his studio, saw the studio, which was beautiful. And it had, the whole idea was that it has a few different rooms. So there's like one main room, one main studio, big room. And then there's like another smaller room. And then there's another even smaller room where they had 3 rooms working on the album at the same time. It was so amazing. So, we laid down the basic tracks, and then in the other rooms, other people would be working on stuff like harmonies or putting on a guitar solo. There were like, all James Iha's guitars were in there. We used all these different guitars, it was like a playground. It was so much fun. And it was all, but it wasn't like, it was totally pro. Even though we had total fun, it was very, very pro and very organized, and everything was accounted for. And everything was planned out in a lot of ways. I mean, other than the spontaneous stuff that happened, that someone would say, Adam, because I used like this toy keyboard on a bunch of songs. And so Adam would would then add the toy keyboard parts on, or I would do it, and he would do. I have an idea for a backup vocal for this. Tell me what you think. So there was a mixture of organization and a lot of creativity, like at the same time. So
Wow.
and then he sat in with us on rehearsals for pre-production for weeks before we got into the studio. We tried out different tempos of the songs. We tried out different arrangements of the songs with him in the studio, and then in our rehearsal studio.
Mm-hmm.
And he came out to Jersey, and we had a rehearsal studio in Jersey, and we worked on the stuff there. And then he was really methodical, and man, wow! I mean, it was just it was really truly one of the best experiences creatively like I've ever had. 'Cause everything was coming together, you know.
So just going over some of like the credits and stuff like that. So you had your rehearsals and stuff. The you called the place the Clown Puncher. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then and then his
Forgot about that.
and then his studio is Stratosphere Sound.
Yeah, Stratosphere Sound. It's not there anymore, but I mean, he passed away. He
I'm reading that. Yeah.
he was one of the first to pass from COVID in 2020, and I guess he had some underlying immunity issues. Even though he's a really healthy, really normal, very very smart, mellow dude, like not a partier or anything like that. But yeah, so it was really sad. But before that, the studio had closed. I remained. We recorded Rejoice there when I ran my school, my rock school. We recorded there every summer. So we did all this these programs at his studio. So I remained in touch with them all throughout, and that was my home studio. Everybody there, a great crew of people. So
Wow,
yeah.
that's cool, man.
Yeah. He's a great producer and a great songwriter. He went on to do a lot of songwriting for, I'm trying to think. Well, you know what? This is the funny thing. I met him. I have to backtrack because I did meet him and I did record at Stratosphere.
Okay.
But I didn't connect it at all. Tenacious D, I recorded the Crank Yankers song with them. I did.
Cool.
I got a call like one Sunday afternoon. So this was probably 2000. This is right when we were touring with Tenacious D. So it was like 2002, probably winter 2002. And they needed a drummer to record the friendship song with them. This is before cell phones. I happened to be home on this Sunday afternoon, and their rep called me and said, like, hey, you know, what are you doing right now? The D want you to record, you know, we need a drummer right now. Do you want to come in and record the friendship song with them? And I was like, hell yeah, I'm there. Fuck that, I'm there. And it was for the Crank Yankers show. I got in the subway, and with my CD Walkman at the time, I burned the friendship song and I listened to it over and over again so I could learn how to play it. And then went in and recorded. I already knew them. We were on tour with them.
Yeah.
I hung out with them, recorded with them, but it was at Stratosphere. So I got to meet everybody, but I didn't have any connection with it. It was almost like that was a connection for sure, but it was kind of because it was all in the family of people that we were working with. So, but I didn't really, you know, in terms of like getting to know Adam, I didn't get to know him back then at all. But that was a great day. Yeah.
They brought you in as a hired gun.
Yeah. Essentially, I didn't get paid. And it was really fun too because I got to hear Jack Black and Kyle do the Crank Yankers part where they were just kind of riffing on the mic together. That's where the puppets were gonna like be them, you know?
Yeah.
And so they were doing this. They were doing this like impromptu shit in front of me. I'm like, that is fucking amazing. And then we all hung out for the rest of the night, you know? But you know, it was a blast. But that was kind of like, I hate to say it, it was kind of the norm of those days where you never knew what was going to happen every day, you know? And luckily I was like, shit, I was summoned by the D. I'm so glad I was home, you know? This is before cell phones or anything. Call my home phone.
Let's go back to like you guys at the time. So this is the first time that you see Hag as part of the lineup. Is that right?
Yeah, essentially, we had, well, Hag was a friend of ours
Mm-hmm.
and would play with us when we had Scotty Chalk, the guitar player before him.
Yep.
Hag was like kind of always around. And when we were in New York, or he was in Project Object, so when we played Chicago, like we'd hang out with him. He was actually he was in Chicago when we were doing You Are the Best, and he came by and he played on the Heater, which ended up on the Jack and Diane EP. But that was like, so he's all over that. And he was just like a fixture, like just always hanging out with us. And, he was doing his Zappa thing, the Project Object thing.
Yeah, I saw them a few times.
Yeah, right, exactly. Mm-hmm. And he was like, he was just the Hag. We knew him from just from being around from the Ween group of people back then. And when Scotty left the band, we were already working on the Diamond stuff together. When Hag came in, Hag's obviously just like, he's like a savant, like he's crazy, like he's the closest. Him and Chris Shepard, one of the other Urchin guitar players of the later years, like they have these, like, they're virtuoso guitar players. They can just hear and do anything. They're just like they're so musical. They're more musical than I am, or Bill. Well, I mean, it's different. You can't compare them, but like, because Bill's freaking guitar hero. He's amazing. But in terms of like that old school classic, knowing weird chords and weird scales, like those guys are just insane. And so when he came in, it was obviously just the perfect fit. And we started, it was like, that's when we started really like going and meeting with producers and stuff. And he, we were rehearsing all the time anyway, and rehearsing the songs and everything else. But the thing about when we recorded is that there is a 4-part like band going on in the Diamond. Like it was so 4-part, my dream band, like so 4-part, because Hag's on the vocals. Doo Brown does like, all of these crazy, like almost Queen-like harmonies. You can hear him on the Jack-O-Lantern, especially, where he does like a whole like chorus of himself. And Hag would like say, "Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. I'm going to double my solo." He'd come up with a solo, double it, do harmonies on it. He was trying out all the guitars. He was like painting over the tunes, and I was of course drumming and singing. I played a little guitar, but I didn't really have to play much. And I was adding keyboards and my toy keyboard and everything else. But those guys, it was, and Bill, of course, too, demolishing the tracks with his solos and his melodic, like anthem solos, like where he comes through with this like Queen Brian May type solos that, you can really sing his solos, and he would double them, and he'd find this guitar, and he'd, so he was painting and he's singing on almost every like lead vocal with me. Like last December, it's me and him singing through the whole song together, me and him through the door doing the harmonies. And so he adds this emotion to the music that, and still does, that whether it's his solos or his voice, where he adds this level of emotion to and brings out this emotion in the music, that it's just a real 4-part thing, man. Yeah.
Well,
great.
I was actually mentioning to Rory, and I love the earlier material, that, I mean, so I'm not taking anything away from any of that stuff, but I feel like the Diamond, I felt this way at the time and still do when I listen to it again. There's a real like confidence to it.
Yes.
If that makes sense at all. Like,
I like the word determined. There's like a determination. I don't know.
It's just kind of like, this is what we're doing. You get on board or you don't. There's a couple of like I don't want to call them slower tracks, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
between
Dracula
like
Bite.
Dracula Bite, you know, and like sometimes, but there is just like the whole, you know, the album has a very like heavy, like, this is it. This is who we are. This is what we're doing.
It kind of like we have arrived.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of, I guess, what I was saying before about it, how Adam Schlesinger knew how to bring that out of us.
Yeah.
And in a real way where it is just, you know, here we are. This is us. This is everything. It's almost like if you think about it in some ways, not completely, but You Are the Best, we recorded like a mixtape, right?
Mhm.
But this album is more cohesive, and every song has a little bit of all of that stuff in there. You know, maybe less of the hip hop, but even in People in the Clouds, it's got that weirdness, and it's still around. But like, it's just this is more of who we, who we were as a four piece. This was us, like, you know, like Police Helicopters to me. I mean, I'm so proud of that song. Like, I couldn't be more proud of that song, and how it came out and how it moves and how it ends. And it's just so perfect to me. And it's so huge. And, you know, it's like just one of those songs where I'm just like, and it just starts off the album and then you're just like going, you know, it's so, you know, I'm in it, but I can look at it from the outside, especially now 20 years later, and just go, wow, this is like, you know, I'm so, you know, just so proud of what we did, you know?
Well, and you saying how you guys were so like tight at the time and playing so much together, like, you know, that you can tell that as well. So like that totally fits. You saying like you guys were just together and touring and everything, that comes across, I think.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, and wait to hear the remasters, because we spent, you know, we spent usually mastering a CD, or whatever, mastering an album, or in this case an LP, and and, you know, and digital versions too. But usually mastering is a 1-day process. But and I still thought it was. But nowadays, and this guy Alan Douches, who is an amazing. If you look him up, he's the guy that remastered the Diamond.
Okay.
And essentially, he's done a lot of amazing stuff. He's just an incredible mastering engineer. He had this process where we worked with him for like 3 months, 4 months on the mastering of these tracks to get them right. And what needed to happen was the energy that was there needed to be, because the original one is awesome, but it was older technology and was also made for radio back then. It was a different way of listening to things. And radio back then was this real kind of, if you can think about it, like this real squashed, like pop music, all just squashed right there. And like, you know how Kurt Cobain says Nevermind was just, you know, just way too produced and way too didn't have that fire, you know, even though I listened to it with that fire. So I didn't hear what he heard, but I can understand when you're making a radio album that's what happens. And the first version had that element of it, because that's what it was made for. It was made to be on MTV. It was made to be on the radio. So the remastering process took, you know, 3 or 4 months. And you can't realize now when you turn up the remasters, whether it's on vinyl or, you know, or digital, how it sounds like we're like right in the room. Like it's so crisp. The energy that you're saying with that immediacy and the fire of the band is now just like, it's got like, you know, I don't even know, like another bunch of cylinders on it. Like it's just, it's just fire. It's just crazy. It's clear and punchy, and brought out some of the snare drum and the kick drum that add to it, you know.
So,
but yeah.
So since we're getting into the new, the new pressing and everything, so like explain to us like how that process is. So the original album was I'm assuming it was still on like recorded in a digital format. Like is there actual like tapes of it?
Yeah, well, this is the fun thing about that. Check this out. What they did, this is one of the first, like, digital was just, it was still in its earlier phases, even though this was 2003.
Sure.
What they did was they recorded the basic tracks on analog tape, right?
Okay.
And then every night they would dump the tracks into digital to preserve the analog feel. And then we would overdub over that, like vocals and all the other stuff, because it didn't really matter if that was analog or not. So the rough mixes are what we end up with. So check this out. I dug into all my old hard drives, all my old CD-ROMs, and I knew there was stuff, I knew that I had this stuff. And so there's like 3 or 4 different versions of every song, mixes. And let me see. Let me put the track listing. So this is a fun little tidbit here. If I can, Howling at the Moon, The Door. Maybe it's Howling at the Moon and The Door, the only ones that are a totally different version than the ones that ended up on the album. I think the other ones are the ones that ended up on the album. But
okay.
And that's because there was this raw fire on those that we spent a lot of time on The Door, treating the vocals differently. And so this is the remaster is like those 2 songs, especially. I think those are the only ones, but those are especially different, maybe different sounding in some ways. Like same song, same shit, but like maybe a little bit like, wait, oh wow, I get what's going on here. It's a little more in The Door, for example, the drums are bigger, so it's more of it gives it more of a movement, more like Zeppelin-y kind of movement to it.
So what's like the process then? So is it like separate files that you have, like, okay, I have like the drums and I have the guitar, and then, or is it still just one thing that you're going back and you're like cleaning it up?
Yeah, it's one thing that gets remastered. It's
Okay.
one, right? Because remixing would be the other thing that you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
I don't know who has the mixes, but the mixes are so good that Chris Shaw did the mixing.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Shaw, he did the Blue Weezer album. He did Ween, White Pepper, and then like a bunch of Ween albums, the 2 ones after that.
And you guys had worked with him previously, because he did. Was it You're the Best, or was it the original EP?
He did the Orange EP with us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew that he came up in some of the earlier stuff as well.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how we met him, through Mickey originally there, and he's amazing. So we didn't want to change the mixing, and most bands don't change the mixes; they just do a remaster. And that does that. There is something that the mastering does to the mixing, because it can bring out like things like I said, like the punchiness of the kick drum, or it can bring out stuff that you weren't aware that were there. I mean, a good example of that is like out of the Beatles remastered all their stuff, and it sounds like almost like if you listen to like Abbey Road. I'm not a huge Beatles fan, but I like Abbey Road, and I got the remastered version of it, and it's like so clear. You can hear stuff. It sounds like today's. It's something like today's recording of something they did in 1971 or 69 or whatever.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it like that.
Right, exactly. So that's kind of like the equivalent of what, and so that's what we did for that. But on top of it, before I forget, is that there was one song that we recorded that didn't make the album. That's from the sessions. We were crazy. So we basically made them record us doing Right to Fire while we were there, because we're like, we can bang it out. It's like, no, we're only contracted to do these songs. Everything's mapped out. We don't want to spend any time on it. Well, no, we can bang it out. So we arranged it with Adam Schlesinger, and we banged it out, and we produced it, but it never made the album cut because it wasn't supposed to. So that was really tough to uncover, and I found the rough mix, which is the final mix, I should say, on a CD that I had. I knew it was somewhere, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And so we mastered that, or remastered it. We mastered that for the first time for this. So that ends up on the LP and on this too. So it's a real cool, fun listen, and
it winds up sounding just as good.
Oh yeah. It was recorded during the sessions,
Yeah.
So it's right there with every other song. It's just the one song that we recorded that actually, like, we hadn't heard it in 20 years. Like I dug it up. I was looking for it. Like before I even did the remastering, I was like digging stuff up. It took me months. Like this whole project's been in the works all year.
That's great.
That's cool, man. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I know that song "Right to Fire." Does that appear on something else, or is it just from you playing it live?
It appears on Rejoice.
Okay. I knew I recognized. I'm like, I know that. Like I know "Right to Fire."
We always liked that song, and there are two actually. I demoed it in 2000 for "You Are the Best," but it wasn't included on "You Are the Best." I demoed it in 2002 or 2003 for the Diamond, and sort of ended up on the Diamond, but didn't. And then we finally recorded it for Rejoice, but the one that ends up on the Diamond that you'll hear in the remasters,
mm-hmm.
or this version, is a totally, like, it's an Adam Schlesinger like production of it. Like, so he has all these different. It's totally different than the one that ended up on Rejoice. It's a fun listen. Yeah, it's totally cool.
Well, so let me go back for a minute, and then we can kind of get into the actual, like, the new vinyl and everything like that. But just to go over the original pressings and everything again. So like we had mentioned, so the original CD is referred to as the limited edition, quote unquote.
Right.
Okay. So now, did you just press that yourselves?
Yeah. Now this is another thing. Yeah, I can't believe that we went all the way. We went all the way, like, around.
It's okay.
Around the world to come back to that. So it's forgot. But we finished the recording. During the recording of the Diamond, almost everybody at RCA started losing their jobs, and the guy that signed us, who was the head of RCA, Bob Jameson, was amazing. And his vice president, these guys were big wigs, and they got taken over by Clive Davis because RCA had the American Idols from back then, like Kelly Clarkson. RCA had the first right for American Idol. So it was RCA's way of keeping alive during this. Now everything's rogue. After 2002, Napster, everything was rogue.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was not, CDs were already out like within a year. People were still buying them, but you can see what happened.
Yeah.
Like by 2005, it was done. So that really, the CDs were done. The CD stores were done. Tower Records closed. HMV, Virgin store, like everything was done because everything was free and everything was burnable and everything was downloadable now. So the technology caught up. So Clive Davis came in, took over the label. Now our A&R guy had us, The Strokes, David Gray, Kings of Leon. So basically they fought to keep us on RCA because we had just finished this album. It was our radio album. We were going to see it through. And essentially we had a huge, huge, huge conversation right after the Diamond was finished. We had this conversation with our managers, with our label, with RCA, with everybody else. Everybody was losing their jobs. All the bands were being dropped. They wanted Steve to drop us, our RCA guy. And he refused to. He was going to go down with the ship. Our manager said, like, look, if they put you out, if they put this album out, it's going to be shelved because Clive Davis is at the head and all he cares about is I mean, even if you look at the Strokes, they didn't even go that far because, I mean, they got huge. They were, whatever, New York indie darlings, whatever, but they didn't become the next Beatles or anything like that. This Clive Davis was interested in Alicia Keys, American Idols, Kelly Clarkson, Pink, and all these
Things
other
that they know are going to be like guaranteed money makers.
pop, so total pop.
Right.
And what happens is if you put the album out and they shelve you, it's a tax write-off for them, and then you can't ever do anything with that album. It's happened to some friends of mine in the music business, around that same time. Some good friends of mine had an album out. They were in the 311 community of bands, and their album got shelved. They had they had everything going for them. They couldn't do anything with the album. So, what our managers and we all came to the agreement of, and it was our decision, the band's decision. But what we ended up doing is we made a deal. RCA said to us, "We'll give you the album. We'll give you $50,000 for the band, and which means to keep on touring, to keep alive, not money for our pockets. We'll give you $50,000. We'll give you the photo shoot. We had a big photo shoot for the Diamond, and we'll give you all the masters for the Diamond." And we took it, and then the first thing we did, our managers go like, "Well, let's take $10,000 of that 50 and print up some CDs and just hit the ground." And we went on tour right after that and did the limited edition thing and got the music out there. So that was like late 2000, fall 2003 maybe by that time, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
What a crazy story. So then were there certain pressings of that had the error on it? Because my memory is we had come to see you at John and Peter's, and they basically, you guys had just passed around a box and you were like, "Take the new record," right?
Right.
This is for you to just have, right?
Right.
And I was like, "Fuck yeah," and there was a little like sticker on the front that basically said, "There's an error on here. Like it's not
right.
There's nothing wrong with your stereo or whatever." And I think it was during the door, there was just a tiny little, a split second like silence. And
yes,
it just
there was.
It stopped for like a split second and then picked back up.
So check this out. It's such a great story because there was this pressing plant that we used for our original EP, and it was in Canada, and they did such a great job to do CDs. And so that's what we used for this diamond pressing.
Mm-hmm.
And we printed up 5,000 diamonds, and they came back and they all had this little glitch in them. And so I hit up the pressing company, because now this was our deal. This wasn't a record label or anything.
Right.
This is like, now it's like we're back to being indie rockers. We didn't have a label. And so crazy enough, they go, "No, man, you check out the masters that you gave us," because it runs off of a master for them. And, you gave us a glitch. You gave us a glitch on the door. I go, "No, I swear to God, we didn't." And then they were like, "Well, maybe it's just only a few of them." I go, "No, it's everyone." Because we had sold a bunch and everyone was writing back to us or emailing us back saying, like, there's a glitch. Yeah. And so we proved to them, and they go, "Oh my God, you're right. This has never happened to us before." So there were 5,000 with glitches on them. And they gave us for free another 5,000 without the glitch.
Fuck so, yeah, dude.
10,000 diamonds out in the wild, But we got to tour it. We got to sell it. We got to make some money, and we got to give away the glitch versions,
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy, man. I had no idea it was that many.
Isn't that insane? I know. It was such a different. This was such a different time back then. It's hard to even. Everything was moving so fast, and we were just starting to really we were moving, so we didn't want to stop moving, and again, thank God for our team, our management and even RCA. Like Steve from RCA still helped us even after we left the label because it wasn't about that anymore. And
all things considered, that's all things considered. What they ended up giving you wasn't all that bad,
they gave us our masters. They gave us our life back.
Yeah, they gave you all that shit and money to get the CDs and
I was going to say like
so.
That seems to be a pretty smart move on your part, like like what your manager ultimately was saying, because you're right. It's like, you spent all this time working on this record, and this is for real. This is not just something that you're making yourself. This is in, with Adam and his studio and everything.
Right.
It's like you want that material to see the light of day one way or another.
Right. And they were starting to look for another label for us. So while we didn't lose any momentum, and our managers, JJ from Twisted Sister and Sean Sullivan, they were partners, and they were just all about and JJ was all about the rock, and he was all about the, spending the money the right way. And it was real amazing that we could, we had all this trust in them, and it saved. Crazy enough, I was on the boardwalk of Coney Island a few days ago on Sunday, and all of a sudden, my manager, Sean, JJ's partner, walks up with his wife. I hadn't seen them in 20 years. And there he is. I'm like, oh my God. I go to my wife and go, tell me that that's not Sean Sullivan right there. Tell me that's not Sean. I can't believe it. I look up because we're in the midst of all this diamond stuff right now. And, it's very random to meet people on the boardwalk in Coney Island here that. So when we talked about it, and I just thanked him, I was like, man, you navigated us through all those crazy times, Napster and the music business falling apart and bands changing. 9/11 happened, and all of a sudden everything went from Jackass to White Stripes, and like all of a sudden it was this garage, like weird indie garage thing happening, and our kind was like, kind of getting pushed away or something, or made to look old, and they just kept on helping us through, and we followed their lead blindly, and now we can talk about it. In the meantime, they found us another label to go on, and we tried out for a few, and we nailed one, and they were right where we needed to be.
So is that Hybrid Recordings then? Is that who you're referring
that's hybrid? Yeah, that's hybrid.
Okay. So then that was going to be my next question anyway. So then, like, how does that come about? They're like, okay, we want to put out this record.
They were two bigwigs from the music industry. One guy, Al Cafaro, was the head of A&M Records, and then was forced to. A lot of bigwigs in the music industry around that time started semi-independent labels, which means that they were, you've probably seen them, but they were independents, but they had major distribution because they weren't like indie, like Sub Pop, they weren't like,
And if they're like, if their name, and if they came from this bigger label, their name would carry like, oh, okay, we trust him because he came from, like you just said, A&M, right?
Yeah, A&M Records, huge record label.
Right, exactly. Okay.
And John Scher was his partner, and John Scher was the East Coast, like Bill Graham. Like he did all the Grateful Dead, Guns N' Roses, Iron Maiden, Metallica, Giant Stadium. They had like a kind of a joint record label and concert promotion. So they still did Iron Maiden. They still did huge bands. But now they were on their own because Live Nation took over. So you can imagine, like, this is kind of like was the next step for guys like that,
Right.
And we tried out for them and rented out like a rehearsal space and with a stage. We tried out for them, and they wanted to make sure that the album would go somewhere. They had like Rat Dog, like Bob Weir's band on there.
Okay.
They had another few jam bands, and they were trying to get a little bit more current. That's why they looked at us, and they saw the Fountains of Wayne and the Ween, and the, just they saw the fact that they were going to get an album that was radio produced. They sent it out. This is funny. They sent it out to these
Focus groups.
focus groups. Yes,
Yeah.
on what song should be the single, and is it worthy of being a single? And there were places that were doing that back then, and they sent a few of our Diamond songs there, and we heard, they said, well, if they pass the test, then we're going to sign you. And so we passed the test of being single worthy. So funny.
Well, and I would have to imagine that this album is like already in the can and it's already done, and it's
right.
Like, hey, I mean, if I was like someone who had a little quote unquote little label or whatever, that would be like gold to me, because it would just be like, well, it's already ready.
The work's been done. The product's been made.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with some clout, and it'll fit right there with Weezer and some of those other bands that were on the radio at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it just would fit in. But we're like, hell yeah, well, let's do this. They didn't have much money at all, but the one thing that they did is listen to us, and they listened to us. That, like, RCA was so big that they only wanted to promote us to the main, like, Chicago, New York, LA, the main they call them the A markets. But we're like, the B markets are where we do well. We do well in we do well in Burlington. We do well in Denver, Colorado. We do well in Seattle's an A market, but we did well there. But Humboldt, California, like all up and down the West Coast, and so they heard us when we said, like, we want to promote to our people now because we're done opening up for big bands, and just, that was one thing. Now it's like time to grab what's ours, or whatever. Just go out there and see what's there,
Yeah.
So, and they were right along with it, and we had the most success there, really, because we were on the Craig Ferguson show on our own merit. It wasn't an RCA favor. A lot of things that happened during the hybrid years were all on our own merit, without anyone's help. We had built a reputation, and those things just kind of, started happening a little bit more. So it was real rewarding in that way,
So then let's jump to now. So now you've been working on the remastering. So then tell us about how, like, this vinyl is coming to life. So there was a little clip of you listening to like a test pressing. Is that right?
Oh yeah, exactly.
So how do you get this thing, like, up and off the ground? So you remaster all these tracks, and are you using the same people that have pressed Rejoice and Black Castle?
No, we used somebody different. Black Castle was pressed by the label in Tucson that put out the vinyl.
Yep.
They went through somebody completely different. And this time we used somebody that was recommended to us by our friends, and really was just sort of like a labor of love. I want clear vinyl. I want 180 grams, and I want to sound freaking amazing. And the test pressings, like, honestly, like, there's not even a crackle on the album. It sounds so good, and it's so good on vinyl. It's so clear, and the mastering was so good. And it was just really a labor of love. And then I had to go through the artwork and find the artwork, and the artwork was in all these different places and different formats and different sizes. So that was a trip in itself, was trying to actually see how I could make the cover into a 12-inch cover and not have it be pixelated, or like all stuff.
Yeah, like nice quality. The pre-order is available now.
Yeah, wow, man. We're speaking on the second day of the pre-order for anyone that listens. But man, we had a slew of orders for the past it's like a day and a half now.
Awesome,
so,
man.
Or almost 2 days. Slew, so much love, and
cool.
we don't even have the same, like, marketing capabilities that we used to have. It's just Instagram and
great,
and people that bought stuff off of our our site before and Facebook, but so much love, and you know, I guess because they can feel that it's really a labor of love, you know, and that's all it is. Oh yeah, so there's two options. There's the regular option is a clear vinyl with a insert, which is like the insert that was in not the booklet, but there's like a collage on one side and there's like a diorama on the other side. It's almost like a little poster. And there's also a lyric sheet as well on top of it, you know, with all the credits and all the lyrics. And then there's a download card with all the stuff on it. But there's also a deluxe, limited deluxe package that we have where we pressed up 100 CDs live, Urchin playing the Diamond live in 2005. And the cover art I used is basically a blank cover art except for the title. And I'm taking all of those and drawing whatever I want or taping stuff to them. And randomly, everyone's going to get some handmade tomato art.
Yeah, dude.
Random.
Yeah,
So
that is so cool.
It's all fun, you know what I mean? That's the whole idea. It's just all for fun.
So this was the only show the live show that comes on the CD for deluxe edition.
Yeah.
Or limited deluxe. So,
yeah, only because it's only 100 of them. Yeah.
Oh my God, there's only 100 of them, and so this was the only time that you had played the whole album through.
Yeah, in its entirety, and it's the hybrid version. So it's the whole album, and then it's the Diamond, Rock and Roll Forever, and Times Square 5 a.m. I think, yeah, that's what that is, right? Yeah. So
wow,
yeah, it's like
cool, man.
With the bonus tracks, and then that's it, you know.
And while we're talking about the live show, real quick to go back, so where did the idea of the Diamond come from? Because you guys would get into like a stance, am I right?
Yeah, exactly, man. You're good with your memory because it's so funny. I was like, wow, where did we come up with that? But no, the song was called Warrior Chant was the beginning of it, and then there was Miami Vice was the song part. So we'd go Warrior Chant, Miami Vice. It was called that. We used to play it a lot. We played it all in the You Are the Best tour, actually.
Okay.
You know, when we opened up for heavy bands like Scorpions and Dio and Deep Purple, we would play that, you know. It was already written, but and we would play it, but it didn't end up on any albums. And the whole thing was we would form of the Diamond. We called it the Diamond because we'd form in like a diamond shape. C-Hag up at the front, Judy to the left, Bill to the right, and we all hold the guitars up to the air, and we do the intro, you know, or you know the Warrior Chant part.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's why it was called the Diamond, exactly. And it's just even though it's not the name of the, you know, even though the song doesn't like actually appear on the album, I mean the proper album, it's just like the Diamond is what that album is. You know what I mean? It's the Diamond. So it's every verse, every it's that formation. It's what we were at that time. It's the cover art. It's like, you know, it's the whole. It just feels like that to us, I guess.
And then is there anything behind you made this this character that's on the front?
No, I didn't. That's my good friend Rob, who has done a lot of Urchin artwork. There's a few Urchin members that like never, you know, that have appeared on some recordings and some artwork. Rob's done a lot of the T-shirt work. He did all the artwork for the Diamond. He's just like one of my good friends that there's just something about. He's not even like I mean, he's an artist to me, and he's an artist, but he's not like a professional artist by any means. But like, yeah, I said, come up with the Diamond, you know. Mm-hmm. He did some. I'm trying to think what other artwork that he did. I did the You Are the Best artwork, but he did the Diamond.
It's a little like the Dark Crystal, to be honest. If you're familiar with it,
I don't really know it, but what?
Oh, just the shape. I'm just looking at the picture on my computer here.
The Diamond itself. Yeah, totally. It's really yeah. There's just something. There's a vibe about his people with their weird eyes and just the way they look. It's like, but
that is so cool, man. Well, so everyone should go to soundofurchin.com.
yes,
Okay. So we're gonna try to get this up and blazing while the pre-order is still live. Okay.
nice, thanks.
So so the actual album will come out on the 21st of October.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
right?
It comes out on the 21st. It'll ship on the 21st.
Okay.
And there'll be some more fun things I'll dig up before then. And we're just kind of riding it. I don't know. Like, it's fun to ride it and see what happens. And maybe there'll be some more merch. Like, some people are asking for the old T-shirts, and we'll just see what happens with it.
I was just gonna say. So
nice.
I have the LP version of Rejoice. So if there's anybody out there who's going back and getting the new version of the Diamond, hey, add on Rejoice, add on Black Castle. You won't be disappointed. No, I'm serious. And I love the fact that you brought back the classic shirt with the alligator on.
Right. Yeah.
So also on the website that's like one of the original. That's how it looked. Is that the exact same artwork?
It's pretty much the same artwork, though. The originals were white on black, and then it was red on black. But there's some diamond shirts too. We had Mom Says I Got Symptoms shirt. I don't know if you remember that one at all. Which was a good one.
I remember the ones that had like the two different people on. Or like two different, like one was like John Ritter and like somebody else.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah,
right. Yep.
I don't remember all the different like combinations, but I remember those. Those are really fun. But like I remember you guys like wearing, those like the one with the alligator, and that was sort of like the band uniform, like originally.
Oh man, and we said on tour what we would do because we'd run out of shirts. Everybody in the band would run out of shirts. We'd wear those inside out. And so we got used to wearing shirts inside out. So that was like our band attire, was like wearing inside out Urchin shirts.
Nice. It's a good look.
Yeah, it really was.
So cool.
I still have one shirt that's inside out. It's from that, but it's all got holes and safety pins, and it's barely wearable now. I just retired it this summer.
Oh, that is so cool, man. But grab a shirt. And whether or not it's the old school or whatever, it's just a fucking cool shirt. You know what I mean? So like grab a shirt. The Rejoice album is amazing. Black Castle is amazing. But it's just so great to see you guys like doing something with such a great record like the Diamond. And
yeah, dude, I'm psyched about like all the stuff, the unearthed stuff,
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna dig it.
Tracks and shit. Like that's especially what has me psyched about it. But also just hearing everything remastered will be awesome too.
Cool, thanks, man. I mean, you're gonna really dig those unearthed ones too, because it's a whole new like view into just where those songs came from and how different they were. And what it shows to me really is where how the band really was a unit, and it was a 4-piece deal. I might have written all the songs, but I certainly did not like it. Writing songs is a strange thing, because you basically say, "Yo, I wrote the song," but I mean, there's so much other. I mean, Adam Schlesinger should get like a writing credit on some of the songs for the stuff that he added to it, because the way that you elevate some of these songs, or Bill or C. Haggard Doodoo, like they all elevated these songs to a place that I wrote the song, the basic song, you'll hear it, but then you'll see like, oh wow, that band, man. That band was just so inspired, man. We were all just inspired. It wasn't like we were like just like, oh, let's just record this and then go get some beers and stuff. Like everybody was so inspired and creative. It was so crazy. Everybody, like there wasn't one naysayer, one person like fuck this or whatever. You guys do it. I'm good. You know, everybody was just like
On board.
all over it, man. All over it.
The
That's
crest of
great,
the
dude.
wave, man.
Yes,
Well, dude,
exactly.
we just can't thank you enough for just being so generous with your time and you know, you're definitely the best friend that this little show has had.
Thanks, guys.
You know, you are
Over the
welcome.
years.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime.